California holds the record for some of the most amazing trees in the world. For example, the mighty sequoia tree is the most massive. The towering coastal redwood of California holds the title of the tallest. And did you know that California is also home to some of the oldest trees in the world too? And some would argue, the oldest. The bristlecone pine is a high-elevation species of pine tree which can live for thousands of years and is among the oldest living life forms on our planet. Seeing them up close and lining up their lifetimes with events in human history helps to visualize the long periods of time that these trees exist, one of my favorite thought exercises. My first experience with these ancient beings was on an early morning a couple years back at the ancient Bristlecone pine forest located in the high elevations of the Inyo National Forest of the White Mountains, adjacent to the well-known Eastern Sierra Nevada mountain range. Join me today as I seek out these amazing trees and learn interesting facts about the Bristlecone pine, ancient observers. It's the 1500s. That's BC, by the way, over 3,000 years ago, the Late Bronze Age. Around the time the first of the advanced Greek civilizations began to develop on the mainland, but still about 1,000 years before the famous Parthenon would be constructed. And of course, even longer to go before grandiose cultures like the Roman Empire would make their mark on the world. While all this documented human history was beginning to unfold, a small, inconspicuous baby pine tree began to poke its way into the same world, high atop a barren mountain range right outside of the grand Sierra Nevada range of California. Up on this lonely and quiet mountaintop, this tree grew up, while humanity fought most of the wars you've ever studied. Billions of people were born into the world and passed through in the blink of an eye, while this pine witnessed thousands of years of sunsets as it faced west. After a long and distinguished life of about 3,200 years up on this mountain, this pine tree, which outlived the majority of famous historical figures you've ever known, fell around 1676 AD.
3,200 years old. This thing is hard as a rock. Wow.
And so this tree lived, from about 1,000 years before Alexander the Great conquered his part of the world, all the way until the 1600s. It even outlived William Shakespeare, who passed about 60 years before this tree's demise. And even though its life ceased several hundred years ago, the remains of the tree are very well preserved, despite cutting through a huge swath of time that would turn almost anything else into dust. And as unbelievable as it may seem, this fallen tree is not among the oldest of its kind. There are others, older yet, out there to discover.
So hopefully by now you're catching on to what makes this place so special. When can you see wood older than Roman civilization?
Hopefully the story of the fallen tree got your attention and we're on the same page as to why our admiration ranks bristlecones up there with the massive and mighty sequoias. And perhaps you too want to know how a living thing can surf time through the ages and remain standing when all else fails. One secret to their longevity is that they live at very high elevations, right below tree lines, where almost nothing else grows. You see, these trees do not do well with competition. They are loners. We have found them at various locations in our travels, as far away as Utah and Cedar Breaks National Monument, but always at high elevations that give a slight shortness of breath.
All right, maybe the elevation is messing with me again.
Here in California, a great place to find them is in the White Mountains. This is where the oldest of the pines reside. Starting in Bishop, California, you'll drive up Route 168 to an elevation of just over 10,000 feet to the aptly named ancient Bristlecone pine forest. From up there, you get commanding views of Owens Valley and Bishop below, and the formidable eastern Sierra Nevada across the valley. The same views the amazing Bristlecones enjoy century after century. The ancient Bristlecone pine forest is home to the Methuselah tree, thought to be the single oldest living clonal tree on our planet. Compared to the fallen tree that began our tale, the Methuselah tree is estimated to be close to 5,000 years old. The exact location of this tree is not publicly known to protect it, but you can walk through the grove it resides in, along with many others of its kind. On our first visit, we opted to take the shorter Discovery Trail, where you'll get to see some very photogenic specimens along the way. As you hike up here at this elevation, it's amazing that anything can grow in such a harsh and relatively barren environment. But that's exactly how these trees like it. They have specialized to live in soil that would make most other plants wither and die. They can endure high winds and the harsh winters and heavy snows they receive at these high elevations, century after century. Not unlike the sequoias that live across the way in the Sierra, these trees have a hard and resinous wood, making them very resistant to disease, insects, and fungal invasions. They are tenacious trees too. They live so long and so hard, they outlive the erosion of the surrounding terrain they live on, exposing their root systems on the downhill sides. The soil up here erodes at a rate of about a foot every 1,000 years. In fact, some outlive the erosion of the surrounding terrain and eventually become victim to toppling over. So when you see trees up here with roots exposed, of which there are many, perhaps that can be used as a loose indicator of age. When they talk about root exposure, here's a pretty good example of that. And if that's right, some of the ones around here must be in the thousands of years old. When you start to realize you're surrounded by these and how far they've traveled in time, it's a humbling thing to be in their presence. Of all the trees located in the ancient Bristlecone pine forest, there's one that's a standout among the rest. This tree is the most photogenic one in these parts. It looks unreal, like a prop that would sit outside a haunted house attraction at an amusement park. Don't you think? Wow, that was a highlight. Those are beautiful. If we haven't impressed you yet with their age, perhaps the aesthetic will pull you in, because we should care about these trees. The Bristlecones face a new threat that they've not experienced in the thousands of years they've lived up in these mountains. With climate change introducing higher temperatures, it seems like the ancient Bristlecones may not fare well. For example, warmer temperatures allow other species to invade their territory, making it more difficult to survive. Remember, one of the main ways these trees got so old is through isolation and eking out an existence where others would normally perish. We here on the Cactus Atlas will keep an eye on things, and we'll hope that the ancient ones will remain for us to visit again throughout our lifetimes and the lifetimes of the generations to follow. Along with fellow title holders like the sequoia, time will tell how these trees fare. Perhaps the mighty sequoia will become the next living ancients to carry the torch into the future, should the bristlecone be unable to weather the upcoming centuries. Or maybe the current times are just another challenge to survive and they'll live forth into the millennia to come. There's still much to learn. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next scientist to discover more secrets about these trees. Thank you for taking time with us today to ponder the amazing Bristlecone pine. Our goal is to bring awareness and interest to these trees so that maybe a few of you will advocate for their survival and future well-being. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy a similar one we made about the sequoia. If you don't want to miss out on more content like this, subscribe and use the notification bell as we release new content every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.